Looking back on the week that was and forward to the week ahead. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. Here are your hosts, Brian Drake and Dwayne McFarland.
All across the fantasy universe, welcome in. It's the Fantasy Football Hustle. I'm your host, Brian Drake from FightingChanceFantasy.com. We are, of course, powered by Pro Football Focus, and you might be wondering, boy, Dwayne looks different this week. So it's not an optical illusion to all our fans on YouTube. We actually have Dwayne's on assignment this week. He's in Nashville enjoying a little time off. So what we're going to do is spin things a little different, and we're going to bring in sports reporter Alex Sims from WSYR News Channel 9 in Syracuse. She's a longtime reporter, has covered 3 NFL teams, knows a lot about the league, knows a lot about sports. And we want to get a little different perspective this week on the NFL, on fantasy football, on women in sports, and women covering sports. So we thought nobody better than somebody living, breathing, and doing it. Alex, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Yeah, so you've been playing fantasy for how long?
Man, probably about like 5 or 6 years. I have 2 younger brothers. I grew up with all dudes in my family, so I kind of just got dragged into it. I'm like, hey, I could play along, with all these guys, and I've been to, the championships almost every year, so I'm pretty good at fantasy, I would say.
What kind of stuff do you do to prep for the leagues, by the way? Like, are you reading magazines? Are you listening to podcasts?
No, I'm searching online, doing my research. I know a lot of websites have, your top picks, who you should be picking and things like that. I do my research. You have to, I think, I don't know everything about sports, and, so that's just kind of how I do everything in life, especially even this job. I'm constantly, researching and learning new things every day.
And if you folks out there are starting your research for the 2021 season, we want you to head over to PFF.com. Use promo code HUSTLE. You're going to save 25% off any subscription package they have there. Use it to get Dwayne's utilization report, get your preseason rankings, tiers, the draft kit, best ball information, all of the unlocked articles that you can only get at PFF.com. Use that promo code HUSTLE. Save a couple of bucks. Tell them your boy Drake sent you. They'll give me a little pat on the back. And we want you to save money. And then coming down the line, we got a draft kit program. We're going to have draft kits available for everybody out there who's a Hustle subscriber. It's going to be pretty badass. Rings. Have you ever won anything big playing fantasy, Alex? Like, what's your league get if you win?
No, I mean, it's a $20 buy-in, so it's nothing crazy. I don't like to do anything too crazy when it comes to fantasy, because sometimes I'll be in 3 leagues, sometimes I'll be in 5 leagues. It really just depends on the year. I've learned that 5 is a little too much for me. It gets overwhelming where you're like constantly rooting against your own teams. But I think 2 or 3 is probably the most I'll do. So, yeah, no, I typically do like $20 buy-in leagues. Nothing too crazy, but you know what? I am pretty good. So maybe I should kind of step up my game a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to get you into some high stakes leagues. By the end of the season, you'll be doing $150, $300 buy-ins like Dwayne here in his Football Guys Players Championship leagues. Now, you grew up in Boston, so you're a Pats fan, but you've also covered the Lions. You've covered the Cowboys a little bit, working down in Texas. So covering the NFL is a whole nother animal because of the interest that so many folks have out there. Talk a little bit about what you've seen cover the NFL and kind of what you learned when you walked into it. I'm sure you were like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then did all your expectations change? Do you look at the game differently now that you've covered it from the inside?
Not really. I think it just makes the game. Well, I know it just makes the game a little bit more interesting. I think just because you get like all the inside scoop. You get to go into the locker room and you get to interview the players. You get to be there for post game and things like that. You get really you build connections with the head coaches and the players. It's something that you really can't get as just an avid viewer watching your own team. So I think that goes for any sport you cover as a sports reporter. You gain connections and things like that. But yeah, covering 3 NFL teams in my 8-year career as a sports anchor has been awesome. I can't ask for anything better. Football is my number one sport. I love it. My brothers played it. My dad played it. I used to go to the SU football games when I was there a long time ago. I'm not going to say when because I don't want to age myself. But yeah, I mean, and even like when I was little, my dad would take me to see Syracuse BC games. So, I've always been around football, but yeah, definitely as a sports anchor, sports reporter covering, NFL teams and being able to build those connections among the players and coaches has been really cool.
Now, I know Adam Schefter gets asked this all the time. Have you ever found out information, going to practice maybe about an injury, and then you go like, man, I got the scoop here. I'm not letting this out. I'm using this for my own advantage in my leagues.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely have gotten, over the years, I've, like I said, built connections and have been able to get inside scoops that a lot of other people haven't been able to get. And I, kept it quiet and then, broke it before a lot of other people. But I've also learned too, a lot of coaches don't like to talk about injuries. They keep them very quiet, especially Bill Belichick. He's definitely one of those head coaches that doesn't talk about injuries. You'll never get injury reports out of him. He doesn't like anyone knowing about, his guys being injured because, I mean, obviously you game plan towards that, right? So if you know a guy's injured, you're gonna, game plan towards that. So, but yeah, so I've definitely gotten some inside scoop along the way that I've been able to break.
When beat reporters now put out information, I don't think they realize the power they have because fantasy football and gambling and DFS is so huge. People want any nugget of information they can find. So when you're covering, let's say you're covering the Cowboys and hey, Ezekiel Elliott's limping today or whatever. And you put that out, you tweet it out, you can follow Alex at Alex Sims TV. If you put something like that out, do you realize like the impact that could have on fantasy players following you, or it could get picked up by one of these aggregator sites like, formerly Roto World, things like that? Like, do other reporters even talk about that? Like, hey, I'm going to put this out and just to screw with people real quick, just to kind of throw them into a frenzy. But,
well, I mean, I think social media has become such a big impact. That's really, I mean, that's where a lot of the breaking news comes is social media. Twitter is a lot quicker with breaking news than, our newscasts, which is crazy because, I mean, back in the day when I first started in this business, which was really only 8 years ago, Twitter and Instagram and, things like that weren't as popular. But now that's part of our daily routine. And, I always make sure, to tweet out the correct information because who knows, like what you said, I mean, someone could pick it up and use that, for their fantasy league or things like that.
Which fan base was the worst? Let's be honest. It's the Cowboys. You can be honest with me. Dwayne's a Cowboys fan. I'm an Eagles fan. Like of the Patriots. Patriots are brutal. Those fans are kind of clueless, but it's got to be Cowboys fans, right? Probably
Cowboys, but I would also say, I mean, the Patriots are just, and I can say this because I'm a fan, we're spoiled. So, I mean, a loss, we're going to complain about it and you're going to hear about it. I mean, we're just so used to winning. I mean, with Bill Belichick, I mean, he's, the GOAT. And, we're so spoiled with him. But also, too, it was funny to cover the Lions because they always are used to losing. So, I mean, it was, and they're just used to that. They're used to that always losing, never having, a winning team. They're constantly, it's a revolving door with head coaches, as you know. I mean, Matt Patricia is gone. And, even when I was there, they went through 2 head coaches in the 5 years that I was there. So it was definitely different to cover all 3 of those teams. But yeah, to answer your question, I think the Cowboys fans are probably the worst out of all 3.
They're the most delusional, without question.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned about the Lions and their revolving door of coaches. I've always said the Lions have just such poor ownership. Their front office is bad. They have a culture of losing. Now, that kind of permeates down into the fan base. Like when you're covering a team and their expectations are low, do the fans, do you feel that from the fans? Like there's not as much kind of them wanting, the team to be held accountable. I know in a city like Philadelphia, sports talk radio is so rabid and the fans demand a quality product or they lose their mind. In a place like Detroit, do the fans care? Or they're kind of just like, we suck. It's what it is.
No, that's the crazy thing about Detroit is that fans really care. Like when you go to games, it's a packed house at Ford Field.
Mhm.
I think it is a big deal to fans. I just think that they're so used to losing constantly that it's kind of just like, we care, but we get it. We understand the culture that, it's been around for so long that like they've really had a horrible team for so long that it's just like they're used to it,
Mhm.
but they do care. They really do care. I mean, it's a packed house at Ford Field almost every game. So
Tough to get people to not show up places and drink all day.
I know.
That's yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, I'm sure I would love to know about the liquor sales there
Mhm.
because I'm sure there's a lot of drinking that goes on at Ford Field because what else are you going to do? They're horrible. So just drink your sorrows away, right?
Seriously. Now, I was curious about when we asked you to come on the show is
Mhm.
because there's a lot of issues, not only in the fantasy community, but you see it online everywhere where, folks, guys, I shouldn't say folks, the guys really are just dicks and they look down upon women who play fantasy, report on fantasy. What kind of interactions have you had, either in person or online, from men who say, Alex, you can't cover the team. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear from a woman. Like that has to be an everyday part of your life. Everything you post has some, creeper saying some odd comment back to you. Like it's got to weigh on you after a while.
You kind of have to prove yourself as a female in a male dominated field. And I think I've done that. And I think I'm continuing to do that. Even I hate to say it in 2021 that I still have to prove myself as a female in this business, but it makes me work harder. It makes me, I'm constantly, studying every day and getting better. And so, yeah, I mean, like I've definitely like guys are now asking me for fantasy advice because I've proven myself. I've shown them that I can, play fantasy and win. I can win a championship with my team. I know how to pick players. I know how to do my research. I know what guys I should bench, what guys I should be playing. But yeah, as a female, you got to prove yourself, and I constantly do that every single day.
What about when you're covering the team and you're asking questions? And I know you're now covering teams here in Syracuse, so you cover like Jim Boeheim, for instance. And I've been in Boeheim press conferences where he likes to belittle reporters. He likes to kind of be standoffish. Were you ever nervous asking questions to a coach, to a player, or just wondering like, hey, am I going to come off sounding a certain way in front of my peers?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it just comes with, I'm a vet now. I think in this business, I've been on air for 8 years. So I mean, my first couple of years as a sports anchor and reporter, I definitely was constantly questioning myself and like the questions I'm asking these coaches and players and things like that. But as the years go on and as I get more, I've been around for a while. I think I know what questions to ask that are appropriate, how to word them correctly. I think the right wording sometimes can help you with, saying it the right way so that you get like a better response from a coach or a player, things like that. So yeah, I think it just comes with experience really. And, but yeah, there's definitely been at times in my life where I'm like, I'm nervous to ask this question, but I've definitely gained confidence through the years. And now I actually really enjoy asking him now.
Do you have any good Jim Boeheim stories?
This is the first year I've actually covered him as a reporter. I did cover him when I was at Syracuse a little bit, but the guy's funny. I mean, he's not afraid to tell a reporter off or anything like that. Nothing in particular. I personally like Jim. I think he's always been nice to me. He's always treated me really nice. So no crazy stories yet. You should check back in with me in year 2 at this place.
Now, we go into social media, and you and I were talking a little bit before the show about how social media has influenced not only sports, but sports reporting and the growth of Twitter and Instagram. And we'll be the first show to admit our Instagram is terrible. If you follow us on Instagram at FF Hustle, like, we need help. And I know
that's why I'm helping you. I'm going to help you.
Yeah, you say you're a pro there. Now, why do you think, a lot of folks are on Facebook, Twitter obviously is huge. I think Instagram is so much more popular amongst people, we'll say, 30, mid 30s and under. Twitter's got kind of a group with a lot of like newsy folks, especially in the media, love Twitter because of the immediacy. Mm-hmm. And then Facebook is, your mom and dad looking at conspiracy theories and memes from 6 years ago. But what are your thoughts on those platforms and how they've impacted covering sports?
Well, I mean, like I said, even I started 8 years ago, and Twitter wasn't really that big, and now like Twitter, Instagram, all forms of social media, Facebook, are part of our daily routines as sports anchors and reporters. When you go to a game, you're doing a Facebook Live. When you're shooting a game, you're trying to shoot and then also tweet out, play-by-play, things like that. Like, I think just the easy access. I mean, I think a lot of people are constantly on their phones and they're not at their house. I think a lot of people are working constantly, and it's just easy to get access or news, sports news, from your phone. And I think Twitter's, Instagram and Facebook are the easiest way to get it, rather than having to go home, turn your TV on, and try to get the news there.
Mm-hmm. Now, Instagram is your social media platform of choice, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm on there the most. I think I've gotten more into Twitter just because of my role as a sports anchor and reporter. That, like, I think I've learned to kind of, tweet a lot every day, just because that's part of our job now, So I think, but yeah, if I had to pick out of the three, I think Instagram is probably my number one.
I see so many women here in the fantasy community, and they're constantly battling these trolls and just these kind of jack off guys who always have to comment or come in with a creepy remark or something like that. Now, I've been on your Instagram. You're open. You don't have to request to follow you or anything like that. And, you've got pictures of you in your personal life. Now, going city to city with, working in the Texas market, in Iowa, in New York, in Boston, and then you're posting photos. Are you getting a lot of weirdos saying stuff like, how do you combat that? And then you have a real crazy story you can share with us about any of these wackos.
I mean, I've gotten proposed to more in like the last 8 years, and I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I should be married by now. I get proposals. I get definitely weird comments, some very inappropriate comments that I probably shouldn't share. But I mean, that's just being a female in this business. I mean, it's a male-dominated field. You stand out because you're a female. I know my sport, so I think guys are attracted to that. And that's just part of, I guess, I don't want to say job description, but I mean, that's part of, what I have to deal with every day, I mean, that's just, there's definitely guys that comment constantly, and
you just block them, or what do you do?
I know. I mean, I like the fact that they're watching, and I like the fact that they're, that they like me on the news and things like that. There's been times where I've had to block people, but for the most part, I kind of just ignore it. I just shrug it off. That's just, I'm kind of used to it.
It's unfortunate that you have to get used to it, though, when guys are being creepy online. And we had a situation in the fantasy community where a guy was being inappropriate with a girl he was grooming to have on a podcast or something, and the guy deleting his Twitter account and everything. But yeah, do you talk to other female reporters, and do you guys kind of share war stories of like?
Oh yeah, I'm on a female sports anchor Facebook page, and we all talk about the stories that we have with our viewers and things like that. And I mean, trust me, there's more good out of this than bad. Like, I think that I get more good comments, like, oh, I love watching you on the news, things like that. But yeah, there's always a time where you get a creepy comment from a guy, and I just shrug it off. What else can you do, right? I mean, I got actually. Speaking of which,
Oh, here we're breaking them live on the air. I like this. This is a Fantasy Football Hustle exclusive.
Yeah, so I received a mail from this man.
Wait, someone wrote you a handwritten letter. She's showing it. This is why you have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
She's showing the letter here. So on a yellow legal pad, some guy wrote you a note.
Plus.
What is that?
Yeah, so he printed my picture out and he wanted me to sign it, and he sent me a envelope with a stamp.
Wow, a self-addressed stamped envelope. It's like it's 1987 all over again. Yeah,
this is the second. I've gotten 2 letters, handwritten letters, not from the same person. Since I've been here, I've only been here since December. So, yeah.
Wow. What did the letter say? I mean, this is going to be a Dateline episode at some point, so this is probably going to be used as evidence.
Okay. So it says, "Hi, Alex. I didn't know if the station still provides on-air staff with promotional headshots to give out to viewers and fans. I know they used to. I'd be interested in receiving one if they still do. For now, I've created one for you. Please sign and return the enclosed, whatever you call this, with the envelope that I gave you with a stamp. I've never been to Syracuse, but I used to know someone who was there. And that's basically it."
Oh my God. The real question, are you going to send that back to this guy?
No.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm like, I just picture like, I don't know. It is like a Dateline story right there.
Now you're a Newhouse graduate, right?
Yeah. No. So I was an English major and minored in communications.
Okay.
I didn't actually know what I wanted to do until my junior year. And I knew like I wanted to do something with TV, but I wasn't sure. And then I'm like, maybe I'll go to law school. So I was kind of late to the scene. But I figured English and minor in comm would be a good, you don't have to major in communications to be a sports anchor or reporter. Mm-hmm. I think that's a lot of people think that you have to do that. And I thought, English is great because anyone can learn how to act on camera. Not everyone can learn how to write really well. And so that's kind of what my mindset was in terms of majoring in English and minoring in comm, because a lot of this is all writing scripts, and then also going out and shooting stuff. So the on-camera stuff is 2% of the job. It's the writing and the editing and all that stuff. That takes up the majority of what we do here.
That was a funny part I was going to ask next is, well, number one, would they prepare you at Syracuse for dealing with weirdo fans? I wonder if there was ever like a section when you're on, WAER or Citrus TV or whatever you're doing up there. They go like, hey, if you're dealing with this maniac, like here's how you handle it. But
I'm sure that comes up in classes. Actually, my sports director, Stephen Fonte, he actually teaches at Newhouse. So I'll have to ask him about that. If they, talk about, what do you do with this in this certain case? Honestly, too, though, and I tell all my interns this, just do your job and do it well. Continue to, study. And then you won't have any problems having to, deal with guys ridiculing you or, things. But yeah, there's always going to be some sort of, weird comment from a guy, I'm sure, that you can't really just, that's just how it goes. You can't teach them how to like deal with it. It's gonna happen, so.
Have you dealt with anything, in a locker room? Have you ever had a weird situation? I know just this past week on Pro Football Talk, they were bringing up a thought of, if players could talk after games, some of them would still talk. And I'd like to get your thought on that. Do you think if it wasn't regulated, would players stick around and talk, or would it get the hell out of Dodge?
No, because I think players still like to talk, honestly. I think it depends on the player. I think, it just depends on the player. I know there's after games, after a big win, I think players do want to talk about, their great play or, what went down. I think, but then again, too, you try to talk to a player after you lose, after they lose. I mean, it's like pulling teeth sometimes, it just really depends on the player. I don't have any crazy locker room stories, but I remember my old sports director telling me that there was a girl, Lisa Byington, who's actually really big now. She does a lot of play-by-play for Big Ten and things like that. She was in the locker room, and a guy was giving her one-word answers.
Mm-hmm.
She turns off the camera and says, "Look, are you going to let me do my job? Because this is what I'm asking you to do. Just please talk to me right now. I'm trying to do my job here. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to leave. Please let me do my job." And she turned the camera back on, and then he started talking. So, I mean, that's just, I think, that's the stuff that we deal with. But, yeah, she handled it really well. But, yeah, for me, I've never, knock on wood, haven't had any crazy locker room stories as of yet. I think, this year was kind of crazy where we couldn't even go in the locker rooms because of COVID and things like that. Mm-hmm. But, I'm still in the business, so only time will tell. Never say never.
Yeah, really. What advice would you give to women that are coming up in the, let's say, fantasy industry specifically? They want to get into content creation, maybe YouTube, TikTok. You don't have to necessarily just write articles for a website. But what advice would you give someone who came up to you and they said, "Hey, Alex, I want to kind of create content now and make a name for myself in this industry"?
I think social media is big, and I think doing your research is big. I think, making yourself known on all the social media platforms, like we talked about, like Twitter, Instagram, things like that, kind of putting yourself out to social media. I think that's big, like promoting yourself, right? Like, I think you need to promote yourself if you want to make a name for yourself. And then obviously just doing your homework. Making sure you're knowledgeable, studying up. Again, I've been in the business for a long time, but I'm still constantly, studying up, especially when it comes to fantasy. I'm looking up, different articles. I'm reading stuff. I'm reading magazines. I'm, listening to podcasts and things like that, because obviously every year, every season is different with players in fantasy. So, yeah, I think those are the two big things: making yourself known on social media and also, doing your homework.
Now, you're a Pats fan. What do you think about Cam Newton this year? Let's get a little inside baseball here, if you will. So, Cam Newton, we've got Mac Jones. Who's going to start and who's going to finish the season? We'll say that.
Well, I think Cam is going to start. I think I know Bill Belichick well enough to the point where I don't think he's going to, there's no chance Mac's going to start over Cam. Let's be serious. But who knows? I follow a lot of the beat writers that, that deal with the Patriots, and Mac Jones is looking good. So, but then again, too, I don't think they're going to, Cam is a vet in the league. I think he's been around for a while. I don't think Belichick will. I think he's a great guy for Mac to learn under. I personally thought Aaron Rodgers was coming to the Patriots. That was I had this hot take coming in. So when Aaron Rodgers was talking about how he didn't want to be back with the Green Bay Packers, I was like, you guys, I called this a year ago. I still think that's going to happen. I don't know. Or he's going to be the host of Jeopardy. Who knows?
I know. People love him on there. Is that great a gig? I'd rather host The Bachelor or something.
I couldn't picture him hosting The Bachelor, but I didn't really watch. Did you watch him on there? I thought he was kind of funny at some point. There was a few little parts.
Anyone with personality looks good on that show. It was the driest, most sterile show on television.
I know. I just don't picture him doing that as a full-time thing. But yeah, no, I made that hot take a long time ago. I was like, look, Aaron Rodgers is not happy with how they drafted a quarterback. He's going to leave after this year, and just wait. Belichick is going to come on in, pick him up, because he is. I think he would do really well with the Patriots. He's a systematic quarterback. It would be easy for him. It would be easy. But yeah, I think Cam is washed up. I don't think he's good. I never thought he was good. I wasn't excited when the Patriots picked him up. I think Mac Jones, though, could be the future quarterback for the Patriots. I think he's a good get. I think he's a stud. I think he'll be good. But we'll have to wait and see.
What if Mac Jones writes you a handwritten creepy note looking for an autograph, though? Then he's out.
Then I'll be sharing that as well on the next time I'm on here.
Who else are you into this year for fantasy? You got any players that you like to have on your team year after year, or there's no loyalty? It's just, whoever the best player is this year.
We usually we do like keepers. We have a keeper league, so we always take one. I typically like to keep Zeke, obviously. I mean, he puts up a lot of points every year. And then I always draft Rodgers because Rodgers is great. He usually gives me like 26, 25 points a game. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think it's really up in the air. I try to keep one. Typically, a running back. But no, I think every year is different, and so we'll see. I mean, this year I haven't really done my research yet, but
now, if you need to, 25% off any package at Pro Football Focus, promo code HUSTLE.
I might have to take you up on that.
You said that you ran a league with your sorority sisters at Syracuse and won the league. I would be doing my audience a disservice if I did not ask about the league, the draft, the drinks. What was going on here with this league?
Oh my God. So believe it or not, all of my best friends in this league that were in my sorority are big sports fans. So they actually we really enjoy, we'll go and watch a football game and actually watch a football game. We won't just sit and drink. We'll literally watch a football game. So it was really fun. I mean, the draft itself, a lot of them didn't know who to pick and things like that. So I was picking I had a great team because I got all the best guys because they didn't know. They didn't know who to pick. They didn't know you had to take, a running back or a wide receiver. They're taking kickers and things like that first in the first round, But no, it was fun. I mean, it was a one-time thing. We didn't do it again, but it was fun. I mean, it's friendly competition, with all and I'm so used to playing in leagues with all dudes. So it was fun to kind of have some other females, play along. But yeah, I'm used to all the leagues I'm in I'm the only female. So
I'm sure that's not unique to you. I bet a lot of our listeners and some folks that might check this show out are going to say yeah, I'm the only girl in my league too. It kind of sucks. How do we get more girls? I don't want to say girls, women into fantasy football.
That's a good question. I mean, I think women, I hope women aren't intimidated because, I mean, if you know your sport, if you watch football and you like football, it's a fun way to kind of enjoy your Sunday because it makes me want to watch every game, not just the Patriots, because you're constantly looking at what your players are doing on your team. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of women are intimidated, because it's mostly a men's type of deal. I feel mostly it's men that are doing it. But I think that, I mean, I don't know, maybe just hopefully women are listening to me right now and and decide to do it this year. But I think we need to promote it more. I think it should be more of a fun thing that everyone can do and not just for men.
If you need some advice out there, at Alex Sims TV, you can look her up. Do you think a lot of websites just kind of gloss over women in general? That they just assume if you're reading on ESPN or Yahoo or whatever, do you find that the content is geared specifically just to men? They don't even try to reach out to women?
No, I don't think so. I mean, so are you saying in terms of just when you write when they write an article, what?
Just in terms, I mean, content, marketing, the way things look, maybe some advertising. Everything is just geared towards guys. There's really nobody out there that's saying, "Hey, we want to be specific to women. We want to bring in the female audience. I think they're missing the boat out there.
I think it's slowly like you're right. I think it's very like, their mindset is all like, let's gear it towards men. But I think since being in this business, I think it's slowly starting to change a little bit. I think they're trying to like give women. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, I think it's trying. I think people are trying to change the way that things are being looked at, and I think eventually, I'm hoping down the road that it's equally men and female geared.
I noticed that you have a hell of a golf swing from your Instagram. You're quite the golfer. Are you playing a lot this summer?
Yeah, funny story. I just picked up the game like 2 years ago. And I wish I like picked it up a while ago because I probably could have gotten a scholarship somewhere to play because I feel like I'm pretty good. I've beaten my dad a bunch of times.
Didn't I see you out on a golf course and there's some NFL players or something like that on one of your posts? Yeah,
yesterday there was a golf tournament for a former SU football player who passed away. And so a lot of former SU players were there. Dino Babers was there. David Tyree I got to talk with. Randy Edsel was there. So it was really cool to catch up with a bunch of coaches and former SU players that played in the NFL. They're horrible at golf. I actually was like, oh my God. Tyree was horrible. I was like, Tyree, put down the club. Let me play for you.
You hear that with these NFL coaches that they're just grinding, 20 hours a day in the office. That's no life for me. I could never, ever do that. I need to be outside. That's why I work in sales. So I have time to go hit golf balls in the middle of the day and nobody knows about it. But yeah, it's funny you say that. These guys suck when they should be great. You have all the money in the world. You can buy the best equipment. You can buy trainers. Like, go have fun. Stop watching film.
No, the athletes that are the worst at golf are basketball players.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like they're just not flexible. But yeah, no. Yeah, Tyree wasn't. He couldn't hit for the life of him. The poor guy. I'm like, let me play. I got my clubs in my car. Let's go. But yeah, I'm a pretty good golfer. I've beaten my dad. I played it with him not too long ago and got on the green on 3 of the par. 3 times out of. Yeah, there was like 4 par 3s, and I got on the green 3 times. So 3 out of the 4.
Look at
that. Not bad for just starting it up not too long ago. I mean,
it's probably better than half the guys out here listening to this on the way to their golf league on Thursday nights.
Well, if any guy needs a 4th, I'm always down. You can check out my golf swing on my Instagram. You can, let me know.
Before I let you go, I wanted to ask this about social media. Now, we're big on Twitter. Dwayne's got 15,000 Twitter followers or so. We're growing with the Pro Football Focus family. Facebook is one weird set of folks. Twitter's another. I know some people only put out their content on Twitter. That's where you see everyone go, hey, follow my article. Here's my podcast. Do you think between Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, I mean, there's MySpace, who knows, a million of these things. Do you think people are missing the boat and they're just missing audience when they're putting out content because they're kind of narrow casting only to Twitter?
I've seen a lot of the beat writers that I've worked with in the past, like they've mostly done Twitter, but then I've seen others do they've promoted on Twitter, but also promoted on other platforms as well. But I think Twitter, in terms of getting your content read and quickly, I think Twitter is the best bet. I mean, like we talked about, I think Twitter, you get your news quicker on Twitter than you do on TV. So I think Twitter is probably the best platform to get your stuff out there in terms of if you want to get it read, if you want a lot of people to see it. I think most people are on Twitter when they want news. So I think you're gonna get a lot of looks that way if you post it on Twitter. But yeah, I think for me personally, I'm gonna promote my work everywhere. Facebook, which is what I do. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of the above. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of people kind of stick to just Twitter.
it's such a job. Like saying,
It
I've got to
is.
go put this on YouTube. I got to put it on
Yeah.
Twitch and this and that. And, it was a great article. Marcus Grant from the NFL Network retweeted today that all these content creators are burned out. Specifically, the article was about TikTok and these young kids who, through the pandemic, became really big on TikTok. And now they're like, I'm burned out. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. When you have to produce content every single day, and it's just off the top of your head, it's not like, covering a sport where hey, tonight we're going to do a Yankees highlight. We're going to do the Mets highlight, whatever. It is difficult to just build this up every single night.
No, it is. I mean, it's a process. I mean, as sports reporters here, I mean, we're constantly, like, after we do a show, we're posting on our content that we, did on our show on the web and things like that. Like, and we're constantly promoting our stuff on all platforms. I mean, it's a never ending thing, but that's just how you have to do it. I mean, you want to get your work, seen, and if that's how you have to do it.
Well, Alex, I won't take up any more of your time. Alex Sims, WSYR News Channel 9 reporter here in Syracuse. You can find her on Twitter at Alex Sims TV. You can also check out her Instagram if you like. Do you want me to give that out also, or just let them search for it?
Yeah, it's Alex Ray, RAE, Sims, SIMS.
Keep your creepy comments to yourself, or she will post them on the next show.
I mean, you can totally comment on my golf swing. I'm cool with that because it's good.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, damn, this girl must have been playing for the last 15 years.
LPGA, here I come.
Yeah, man, it's better than mine. Jeez Louise.
I don't charge for the first lesson, but after that, so if anyone needs lessons.
There you go. So, folks, we'll be back next week. Dwayne will be back from vacation. We'll get into all the fun stuff that you're used to here on The Hustle, Julio Jones news, draft strategy. Maybe we'll even do a big money draft or a best ball league or something like that. We got to keep the people engaged, keep them excited out there. But for Alex, I am Brian. Thanks for checking us out on this special edition of the Fantasy Football Hustle. We'll check you guys out next week. And remember, never get out hustled. We'll see you, folks.